rainfall, and depleting soil fertility, among others. How can the country deal with the threat of climate change while solving some of its basic problems? In a series of human-centered stories, we shine a light on some of the most basic innovative ideas that could help bring change.
This is Northern Ghana, where the consequences of climate change are not just statistics, but stark realities that shape the destinies of its people.
In the dry season, the little water remaining in the dam for us to use becomes muddy, making it difficult for us to use it.
Climate Focus is brought to you by Joy News in partnership with Youth Bridge Foundation, bridging gaps for positive youth development.
So here we are talking about the Achimota Forest. This wouldn't be the first time that in recent years it has come to the fore. The point, though, is the reservation status of that forest, part of which is now going to be used for commercial purposes or residential purposes. Is that in line with what we expect from the Achimota Forest, or at least what safeguards it poses for us? We have joining the conversation Eco-Conscious Citizens and their representative with us this morning, Awula Serwah. She is the coordinator of this group. She joins the conversation. Good morning.
Good morning. Thank you for having me.
It's always good to have you. And, you know, sometimes I talk about the last time I saw you out there in front of Parliament,
yes,
picketing. Which one were you picketing on that day?
Against
the day I saw you.
The EI 144,
right,
which declassified bits of Achimota Forest, and also LI 2342, which is quite perverse because it allows mining in forest reserves, including globally significant biodiversity areas, which means that we've lost the plot.
So moving on from declassification and mining, and which you say means that we've lost the plot, there's this recent drive, at least as far as the Achimota Forest is concerned, to use part of it commercially.
Yes.
As we've been told, some of this goes far back in time, to around maybe 2014, thereabouts. Talk had been there, but nothing had been actualized. But now we are seeing inroads there. How worrying is that situation if we take away this classification and residential developments start coming up in the Achimota Forest?
I mean, I would say that it's very worrying. I mean, it just shows that we don't have an appreciation. We have a very limited appreciation of the value of forests. This forest reserve, Achimota Forest Reserve, is the last remaining forest reserve in Accra. And we know the importance of forest, or at least we should know the importance of forest reserve. So who in his right mind, who goes about green Ghana, is it just a gimmick? Who in his right mind, who is talking about the sustainable development goals, especially number 11, which talks about sustainable cities? How is Accra sustainable when you are removing the lungs of Accra? Because our forests are our lungs. And as I keep on saying, is the last remaining forest reserve in Accra. So why on earth would we declassify portions of it? It doesn't make any sense if we have an understanding of the value of forests, if we do.
In other words, we have no business doing this.
We have no business. In fact, lots of organizations, apart from the CSOs, environmental organization, you also have the Ghana Institute of Foresters, you also have the Ghana Institute of Planners, who've come out to say in very strong terms that declassifying the portions of Achimota Forest is an extremely bad move. In fact, they talked about the government probably having a very limited understanding of the value of forests. They said that ecologically, it was not negotiable, absolutely not negotiable, to even think of declassifying parts of Achimota Forest. Because the forests are our lungs. We talk about the ecology, the ecosystem, the habitat of species,
I mean,
plants,
flora and
animals.
fauna.
Flora and fauna. I mean, it just shows that all the things we say we do, we just do it whether for funding or whether for photo opportunities, but we haven't grasped the importance of it all. Otherwise, we wouldn't be, because again, Benjamin, you have to remember that a lot of our forests have been destroyed by illegal mining.
Indeed.
We know that. And then when you have the forests that haven't been destroyed by illegal mining, you want to go and declassify portions of it. You can't be for real. You can't be for real.
So we know that these forests, I remember when portions of the Amazon were on fire. Forests are like the lungs of the planet.
Of course.
The lungs. Imagine a human body without lungs. You can't breathe.
You can't function.
But when you make mention of this and then you rope in Green Ghana, in one breath, we're doing Green Ghana, in another breath, and we know of the forest loss, the forest cover loss over the last decade.
We've lost about, if my information is correct, we've lost more than 70% of our forest cover over the years. And so what we need to do is to be, replenishing our forests, having more areas designated as forest reserves. What we do not want to be doing is declassifying parts of the forest. And as you said, the forests are our lungs. So what we are doing is removing the lungs of Accra. When you look at that area, look at the number of outside the periphery, look at the number of petrol stations, all that. We know that the forests absorb the pollutants, or I think we should know.
Yeah.
So I'm beginning to think that we have no understanding of the importance of forests or green spaces. You are aware of Achimota Parks and Gardens.
Indeed.
We have a petition talking about an audit of all parks and gardens.
Most of them are gone.
Most of them are gone. And in Wa, when you talk about deforestation, in Wa in particular, I mean, it's just mind-boggling that we are actually building a petrol station on parts of parks and gardens land in Wa. So nothing we do makes sense. It seems as if when we see a green space, the only thing that comes to our mind is that we must put a building there. So we have called on all right-thinking members of the Ghanaian society to resist this declassification of portions of Achimota Forest. It doesn't make any sense. And what is perverse is that we are hiding behind the Owu family, saying that they were not compensated, which they were. Receipts have been found that they were compensated. And even if they had not been compensated, why would you give back the forest, which is going to be sold? It's not as if it's a sacred place that they want to keep for whatever purposes. It's going to be sold out. So it's a question of wanting to grab prime land, just wanting to grab prime land, and then using, or shall I say, hiding behind the Owu family. And journalists should investigate how much forest the Owu family actually asked for and how much is being declassified. And one would see that it's just a land grab.
What do you know? What do you see if you read between the lines?
It's just a land grab. We are coveting the forest reserve. We have a lust for prime land, especially the green spaces, whether it's parks and gardens land, whether it's Achimota Forest Reserve. And we just want to go and build on them, as simple as that. Pure, unadulterated greed and lust. That's all it is.
Who are we? When you say
those who are involved in the declassification, those who should know better. I mean, the forest reserve was made a forest reserve by the colonialists, if my information is correct, in 1921, long before some of those acting were born. So why would you think that as Accra has grown and we need more green spaces, we need more forests, why would you, at this crucial point, when we've lost so much of our forest cover, think it's a sensible thing to go and pass an executive instrument declassifying portions of Achimota Forest? This is something that is perverse, not in the interest of Ghanaians. I mean, no sensible person removes their lungs unless the lungs are diseased. And in this particular case, they are not. So why are we going to build on a forest reserve? And I'm calling on all right-thinking members of the society to resist this, because our children will not forgive us for what we are doing. If other past generations had done what we have done, we wouldn't have come to meet Achimota Forest. We wouldn't have come to meet green spaces. So what we are doing is unforgivable, because we're not thinking of leaving a legacy to our children. We're thinking of grabbing everything, even our Ramsar sites. Even our Ramsar sites. We are building on them. You know, Honorable Quarty a while back was going to...
Henry Quarty.
Yes, he was going to... I mean, he had, at the time, our respect. He was going to destroy the buildings on the Ramsar sites. And then We can all guess what happened, and there was an about turn, and that's not being done. So what exactly do we understand by climate change? What do we understand by measures that one is supposed to take? We don't seem to understand anything. And I keep on going on about Green Ghana because it's so hypocritical to go on and on about Green Ghana, when we do not really believe in it. We don't.
Your father, you've been around for a long time. Mm-hmm. You've seen leadership, at least from, how do you think we got here? Before I even get to the Lands and Natural Resources Ministry, this about turn, how things, your generation versus what is happening now, why do you think this disconnect came to be?
Well, it's very difficult to fathom. I don't understand. I mean, I was just telling somebody the other day that if our first president, I think he'll be turning in his grave. I mean, on independence, there was just hope, sad vision. My dad was so proud. Ghana was going to be, the new country, the leader in all things. And right now, we're just behind. Look at Kenya. With all their faults, they are preserving their green spaces. Look at Rwanda. They've had a civil war. But regarding their green spaces, it's not been negotiable. Look at other countries that we think we are ahead of. And look at the vision and foresight they have. I think that we need to go, Sankofa says going back. So we need to go back and find out that where did we lose our way? Where did we think that the only thing we are to do on this earth is to build, and extend the concrete jungle? Where did we get all those ideas from? We need to go back, to the part where we had Kwame Nkrumah creating first of all, the Department of Parks and Gardens, and then the Ministry of Parks and Gardens, and putting a cabinet minister or Kansi at the helm of affairs because he knew how important it was. And now what are we doing?
So tell me about this as we conclude on this conversation. Have you had any interactions with the land minister for lands and natural resources? Because listen, this bit, when you pay attention to it, it plays a role in the water table.
Of course, right? It does. Of course it does.
Then when there's flooding or rain, it absorbs to prevent flooding.
Absolutely.
Have you channeled these conversations to
we Eco-Conscious Citizens haven't directly engaged with him, but other organizations have. But the reality is that I should think that before he got the position, he would be aware of a lot of these things you are saying. I mean, even my class 3, class 4 students are aware of this. I'm sure he would be aware. And all I'm saying is that he's aware of this, and those who passed EI 144 would know that it was not in the interest of Ghana and Ghanaians, but they did it all the same. There have been so many calls from different organizations to rescind it, to do away with it. They have just chosen to ignore it. Recently, EI 234 was passed, which removed just a tiny section of what was under EI 144. Right. So what I'm saying is that the political will to get Ghana to become a green city is just not there.
It's just not
there.
But
what annoys me is that we should not be hypocritical. We should not pay lip service to it. I mean, as I speak today, I've got messages from Atronsu in the Northwest region about an excavator being very close to the Atronsu stream. And anybody who has seen the Atronsu stream, the water was so pure. They used to boast that it's even better than Baltic. And right now, we want community mining. We want to push it down the throats of the people who said they don't want it. I've been told that there's an excavator very close to the source of the Atronsu stream. What are we doing? Already, most of our waters are polluted. The few that we have that are not polluted, we think that a sensible thing to do is to go and mine there when we know what mining is doing, even the so-called legal mining. We know what it's doing.
Let's take a few calls on this subject as we conclude the conversation. You can call that number 0302-211-691, 0302-211-691. You can call in and share your thoughts on the discussions we've had today, not just this one about the Achimota Forest, but especially on this one as well. You can call that number 0302-211-691 as we conclude the conversation. In the meantime, before your calls come through, your favorite podcast show, Bus Stop Diaries, now airs every Saturday at 4 p.m. on the Joy News channel. You can also watch and listen to all our episodes on the Joy News YouTube channel, myjoyonline.com, Apple Podcasts, TuneIn, Google Podcasts, and Spotify. Grab your chill drink. Join us for another exciting journey filled with trending bus, and that's on your Bus Stop Diaries. Let me also tell you about the Royal Cozy Hills Hotel. You can escape there. We call it Joppa Dubai. You have seen the rest. Now it's time to see the best. Take a break from work. Take a break from the South. The Royal Cozy Hills Hotel Joppa Dubai is the place to relax, rewind, and re-energize. It is away from the stress of the South. Now this is what awaits you. One, an unforgettable safari experience. An amazing array of wildlife, including lions, hippopotamuses, zebras, ostriches, among many others, using our spacious and well-secured game tour vehicles or using quad bikes. 2, water sports, such as jet skiing, boat or canoe rides. 3, various family games to keep you and your families excited every day. And there's still more. Great tourist attractions in the Upper West region, including the Mushroom Rock, Slave Caves, and more. So escape from the South, escape to the North. Escape to the Royal Cozy Hills Hotel, Joppa Dubai, for an unforgettable experience. Just call these numbers to make your bookings or inquiries. 0501 694 280 or 0248 844 463. Those are the numbers you can reach out on. We have Frank from Achimota joining the conversation. Good morning, Frank.
Good morning.
So make your thoughts quick, and let me just say, don't listen to yourself on the TV, listen to yourself on the phone. Quick thoughts, Frank. Hello, Frank.
All right. Okay. Thank you very much. I like this discussion. And what I would like to say is that our leaders, we realize they don't think about us. So they just do whatever they want to do with LI and EI and whatever, what they think will be in their favor. But we are promising them. The youth of today, we are very angry. And one day, something serious will happen to this country. Because we can't sit down for us to keep the next generation like that. Thank you.
Thank you, Frank, for making your thoughts very succinct. We'll move on to the next caller, 0302-211-691. 0302-211-691. Call through. Let's know what your thoughts are. That is what you heard, Frank, on it, that the youth of today will not sit down for some of these things to happen. It's just been horrifying. It's like a horror show.
No, it's like a horror.
Watching some of what has happened, because you talk about Itiwa, you talk about Achimota and many other places. It's becoming problematic. But let me bring in Esther from Ashoman. Esther, good morning.
Sorry?
Esther, I can hear you. Please go ahead.
Yes, I'm ready. Sorry?
I can hear you, Esther. Go ahead with your thoughts, please. Listen on the phone, not on the TV set. Please go ahead.
Yes. My statement is, I was a soldier, a woman, an old lady now, about 70. But what happened was, I was with the border guard during a tampon time. In our border duties, there is a saying that we can't eliminate smuggling, even across the British Channel, France and Britain. They smuggle, but we can only limit it to some level. So if we bring back the border guards, the border guards, they are solely trained to be in the bush.
Right.
You bring custom officer from Legon to go and stay in the bush. You only do it, even your own child. So they should really start with the border guards.
Okay.
And then they know their purpose. And that will help the state. Because you can even look at Donald Trump. He was trying to make a fence wall between America. But it couldn't happen. You can't. Because at times, on the right side, you have a river for the people who are living at the left side to drink. And they are from one mother, one father. But only the demarcation shows. Do you think they can neglect each other? No. Okay. We have to consider those things.
Right.
And then, at times, they use their discretion. The custom officials, as the lady was saying, he said they should pay 40. At times, even preparing a duty, it's a discretionary work.
Okay.
Then they look at the items and their purposes.
Thank you, Esther, for sharing your thoughts with us. She says she's a former officer herself, and she mentions something that Mr. Ali Nachia mentioned this morning, the border guards. And that has to do with our latest hotline documentary, Porous Borders. We'll see whether we can grab one more call. If not, we'll wrap in the studio. What do you think, Awula Serwah, what do you think should be the way forward now that the land grabbing you're talking about is happening in real time?
You know, I used to say that I thought that the youth were not angry enough because their legacy is what is being squandered right now. If you look at Achimota Forest Reserve, a forest reserve, you want to go and mine bauxite there. When the experts have told you that all it will do will be to kill the endangered species there, and also, you know, it's a source of water to 5 million people, you are going to contaminate the source of water. And we're not listened to. So we happen to be in court as we speak. The case is still in court.
Right.
Right. And then you look at Achimota Forest Reserve. You have been told by a group of experts, by environmental organizations, that's a bad idea. We need more forests, not less, because the concrete jungle is advancing. Okay. And you yourself rightly said the forests are our lungs. So what I'll say that if this generation is just going to destroy everything in sight, and the next generation is going to sit idly by and allow it to happen, so be it. We are doing our best to say that declassifying Achimota Forest is not negotiable. Right. It will just be destructive.
Declassifying the Achimota Forest is non-negotiable. Do we have that final caller to take? Hello, good morning.
Hello?
Yes, you are a final caller. You have 30 seconds. Let's go.
Yes, I think your sound engineer has to be sacked. In fact, Joy, there is no training for your news readers. They speak to their truth. Your sound system, when there's an advert, you can't even, it's so loud. Your voice, in fact, the engineer has to do a lot of work for you.
Okay, thank you for the feedback. We're grateful. Okay. We do our best from here, but we are thankful for the feedback and we'll work at them. And that's how we end the conversation this morning. Awula Serwah with Eco-Conscious Citizens. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you for having me. Thank you so much.
All right. So we'll be back tomorrow.